So the old saying is, step on a crack, break your mama's back. But what if you're a step parent? What would it be then? Today on the 5 Squad, we're talking all about being a step parent. So hope you guys enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the 5 Squad podcast. For those out there who do not know who I am, my name is Evan Andrews.
I'm Haley Andrews.
And this is my lovely, beautiful, all-encompassing wife with me. And we are your favorite husband and wife duo, coming at you live from our new podcast studio setup.
Yeah.
I think it looks amazing. It looks really good. What do you think about the
amazing?
The whole
I'll
aesthetic
agree with
here?
amazing.
And
yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So, fun fact for those that don't know, a good friend of mine actually put up this wall here. So, thanks, Drew, for getting that done for us.
For all you do.
And thank you, Drew, for all you do.
Love that.
Love that so much.
Love it.
Anyway, today is episode 30, and we are diving into the world of being a step parent. I wanted to talk about this on an episode because I am a step parent, and I know that both you and I have had step parents in our life growing up. So I thought it was a perfect topic for us to dive into here for episode 30. But the first point of that I wanted to kind of make here, and is something that, I don't know if I really struggled with it so much at the beginning. I think I probably questioned myself a little bit in it, but it was when we first got together and, it was really, coming into the kid's life and everything. It was me understanding who really should be setting the tone in our house, right? Obviously, as the man, I feel like that should be my responsibility.
Yeah, definitely from a biblical perspective, I think it should always be the man setting the tone. But when it comes to the step parent role, I think that's probably where your struggle might have come from. Like, wait a minute, I'm not the natural parent.
Right.
But you had mentioned when we were practicing this about like it wasn't really something you questioned in the beginning. You kind of just dove in.
Yeah.
So I think now as we're like really solid in our parenting is when you can kind of like think on those, or like hindsight kind of think about,
For sure.
yeah, those roles and who should set the tone.
Yeah. I mean, because for me at the end of the day, like, I think you have the final say in whatever goes. I mean, even the kids' fathers, and to some extent, right, have the final say in certain things that happen in their kid's life. I can only take myself so far until we get to a certain point in their life where they can make their own assured decisions, right? But I think that for me, that mindset just comes from like our society and like the legal aspects of how, step parent and children relationships are.
Well, I mean, it's true that like the legal aspect is tricky because I mean, even now we've been together for pretty much their entire life, and I still have to write a note for you to pick them up from school. Like, you couldn't just go and just say, hey, I want to pick them up. I mean, you do have a power of attorney for them for school, but we have to do that every single year. It's not like something that just goes away, just because.
It's not a thing that I can just come in and say. I mean, and there's tons of things like that. Like, if I'm taking them to the doctor, or if I'm doing different things, like, you have to make certain things and aspects known so that I have power and authority to make those decisions when you're not around.
Right. I definitely have to fill out extra paperwork. It's almost like a third paperwork just for you to take them anywhere.
And I think that's okay though.
But I think the role portion of this is important though, that the kids see us sharing the responsibilities and the roles, whether you're step or natural, it shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, in my opinion, especially,
No, I agree.
It's gotten a lot easier for our children, I think, as we've really started to equally share roles. I mean, we can't both give 100% every day. Like, when I can't give 100, you're there to fill my lack, and then same vice versa.
Yeah, and I think the kids pick up on that, right?
Yeah, like, it's not like, oh.
Because if everything I said was like, well, just ask your mom, I would just be this like body in the house, and I probably wouldn't have the relationship that I have with them.
Right. I mean, it's not like oh man, the other day we were talking at work about, husbands like taking over responsibilities, and a girlfriend and I were talking about like how our husbands aren't second children, like
Sure.
some women do think that. And
Sure.
I think it's even especially true for step parents, like, oh, just another job. But you take that role so seriously, like you take them to school, you do all of the breakfast, like you do
Homework
that
when
whole
needed
morning.
and-
Like you take those responsibilities that are supposed to be the natural parent's responsibility, and you definitely step right into them and step up into them.
Yeah. And again, that goes into like my second point of our discussion here, but it's just, I think it's important that the step parent has to come into that dominance role in some way, shape, or form for the kid's sake, right? Because it's like, it just goes into like, if I was just the fun, happy person, happy-go-lucky, like if I was their best friend
All the time.
right, all the time, then me telling them, hey, get your pajamas so we can take a bath.
Or go clean your room.
They're going to look at me, and inside their head, they're going to be like, "Fuck you, man." Like, you know what I mean? Like, who is this guy? Or
Right.
who, and I think that this is probably particularly hard for like stepmoms,
Yeah.
right? Because kids are so attached
The
to their
emotional
mother.
the emotional aspect of the parenting role
Yeah.
for a stepmom is probably a lot harder. But I think that's maybe a stepmom to female, because think about,
Sure.
I think the stepdad role with a son is really hard to
Sure,
break that barrier of like, I know I'm not your dad, but I'm here.
Right.
And I think you run into that.
Yeah.
Maybe not with Logan, but definitely with Christian.
For sure. But I mean, I also see how like Christian teeters
Right.
on that a little
Right.
bit. Like sometimes like, and I don't know, I think it's like when he's around Callie for extensive amounts of time or whatever, but he'll call me dad from time to time.
Right.
So he'll sometimes even correct himself. And like
Right.
when he does it, he'll be like, and
Right.
But if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. Like, I'm not going to.
But I definitely I know we both have our backgrounds of step parents. I had a stepdad. You also kind of had a stepdad. I definitely don't think it's important for a step parent to act in dominance if they're not prepared, though.
No, I agree.
I mean, like, especially for me, I did have a step parent that came in, wanted to be super dominant, and my mom was very much like shy and stepped on the back burner and allowed him to take over everything. And there was no nurturing, there was no understanding or anything like that. And I definitely don't think that role of step parenting is beneficial at all, you know? But you had a different kind of step parent that came in and really shared roles with your mom too, right? Like, kind of like us.
Oh yeah. I mean, my mom was one that, she worked until 6:30 every night. And if Brian was off work early or whatever, like he would pick us up from daycare, or
Right.
like he made dinner every night. My mom rarely had to cook. But that's
I love that.
that's what he chose to do.
Right.
And I appreciate him for that. And
I think that's where your role comes in for me. Like when we, got together and you started finding your place as a step parent, your first thing was what jobs can I take off of your plate? Like laundry. I know we talk about that a lot. And you do cook every now and then, certain.
when I have to. Yeah.
Right. And then, I mean, dishes, obviously our son doesn't most of the time, but like you took over some of those roles that, a traditional mom would do, but as a way to show your support, and sharing those roles was important for the kids to see too.
100%. Yeah. Cause again, if I was one of those guys that just came in and was like, well, I make the money and you do everything else. I mean, you
Or
make
do
money
what
in our
I
household
say.
too. Like
Do what I say and not as I do.
Yeah. Again, that just goes into the importance of how the kids see things happen. But
Well, I think it's important that kids, especially like we can speak from this experience for us, our kids have really seen us share pretty much everything. So it's not, to them, it's not like I have a mom and a stepdad. To them, they really just think of like us as their parents. Like these are my parents,
Right.
And the only time that kind of runs into a weird sticky place is when they don't get the answer that they want.
Yeah. I think, with the exception of Logan, just talking about the twins here, they definitely know how to walk that tightrope when it comes to playing both of us against each other where they can. They're definitely a little smart when it comes to that.
And you know what's really funny is they don't do it necessarily because like I'm the mom and you're the step parent. They just do it when they know we're like really busy or like are short for time, and so they know like we haven't had a chance to communicate.
Yeah.
And so they'll ask you, and if you say no, then they'll come ask me, and then they'll tell me that you said yes or something, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And then
I'll be asking Callie stuff in the morning, and she like I won't even be asking her stuff. I'll tell her like, hey, you can't take that to school or whatever. Right. And she's like, well, mommy said I could, and I'm like,
and I'm already gone.
And then I have to like get on the phone. I'm like, did you say that Callie could do that? And then it like.
Or the vice versa goes. Like, she's like, well, or I'm getting on to her about something, or I'm disciplining her because I think sometimes I do tend to discipline more. And maybe that comes from being the natural parent. I feel more comfortable doing it. But I'm getting on to her. We say her, but maybe she gets in trouble the most. But I'm getting on to someone, and they're like, well, Daddy said I could. And I'm like, what? Did you? I'm like, why would you tell them that? And you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, they are definitely little... They're smart little rugrats when it comes to that. But
Logan's really more, and I don't know if this comes from being the first child and like just being good at listening.
I think it's just because he's old. Because Logan never did that when he was younger.
Right. He didn't.
Like,
yeah.
But
do you think that might come from the fact that he doesn't look at you as a step parent at all?
Yes.
You are his dad.
Yes. Like I think I have that's a little bit of a different.
I think so too.
Outlook.
Right.
From his.
He looks at you as. Or he looks at us as two natural parents.
Right.
Like he doesn't have any.
No, he does. Yeah. But yeah, babe. That honestly, that brings us to the end of this episode about step parenting.
Well, I do want to say this, and I didn't plan on saying this, but for anybody that is a step parent or has a step parent, it's a very difficult task to take, and taking that or making that decision to step up when you don't have to is probably one of the best things that you could ever do. And you may not hear it enough, especially you, but you have changed my life and their life for the better just because you chose to step up.
Oh, I love you so much.
And I love you
Thank
too.
you for those kind words. But yeah, that brings us to the end of this episode. If you guys liked this episode, please interact with it in whatever form you are digesting it in, whether that be over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. If you're not following us on YouTube, go subscribe over there. We would really appreciate that. Give us any positive, negative feedback on this too. Does not matter. We want all of it because it helps us get better at the content that we are bringing you guys. But, remember that every day is a new chance to get it right.
Keep pushing forward and stay inspired.
And we'll see you guys next time.